Amazing. Thank you everyone for being here. So this is our second webinar in our three-part series focused on preparing for remote work. So today's session is for those new to BlueJeans or who have used it really lightly in the past and want to kind of have a deep dive or a refresher. So we're going to cover the ins and outs of everything BlueJeans meeting, which is why you are in an actual meeting with us today. As Missy has said, and some of you know, my name is Maggie Bliss, and I'm moderating today's session. And then today, Missy Dunham, our BlueJeans Customer Success Training and Operations Manager, will be leading the session. So before we kick things off, first, all attendees are on mute, and please stay on mute as we want to limit the background noise. But if you have questions, please put them in the chat, and we'll try our best to answer them as quickly as possible. And then if we can't answer them, we'll save them for the end, and I'll have Missy answer them. If you have any trouble, please put that into the chat as well, and we'll help you work through that technical issue. And lastly, this is recorded, and we'll send all of you a recording afterwards so you can have it and refer back to it. And with that, I'll turn it over to Missy.
Great. Thanks so much, Miss Maggie. And welcome, 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 everybody. My name is Missy Dunham, and I am thrilled to be your trainer today. We're going to cover a whole bunch of fun items to help get you started. But before we have a look at the agenda, let's talk about some tools that you can use today. Now, first, you are more than welcome to share your webcam. To those of you that already are, thank you so much and welcome. For those of you that are just joining, we're going to keep everybody on mute. And if you happen to miss it, don't worry, we'll mute you as you go. But if you want to mute or unmute either your audio or your webcam, you can do so by hovering your mouse and selecting on that first button to mute or unmute your webcam, or that second one to mute or unmute your audio. Again, let's keep audio muted for the sake of today. For those of you that may be shy sharing your webcam, I will offer you this perspective. If you are work ready, you're camera ready. Your coworkers see you every single day. They see all your lovely faces. So consider us your virtual workmates for today and feel free to share. Other tools you can use today. If you do want to share your webcam, but maybe it's picking up the wrong one, you can click on the setting options there on the right, and it'll give you just some really quick drop-down menus. So you can seamlessly change your camera or change over to a headset, or maybe the speakers the sound is coming out on for convenience. Last but not least, as Maggie mentioned, if you have questions throughout today, because we have a larger audience size, we're going to hold those off till the end. The presentation itself is only about 20 minutes. Everything else will be dedicated to you in your Q&A. So feel free to enter them into chat as we go so you don't forget, and then we'll circle back and answer those live. Here's a look at our agenda for today. We're going to begin with a few best practices that are helpful when you're getting started, both working remote for the first time and using BlueJeans for the first time. Then we'll have a look at how easy it is to schedule, to join, and to use some of the cool tools when you're in a meeting, as well as how to access and share the recording after the meeting. And then before we close, I'll show you where you can find some of the on-demand resources in case you have questions after today's session. So let's jump right in with those best practices. Here's a few tips to help ensure that you have the best meeting experience possible. First, you're going to want to make sure you have a decent internet connection. If you're working from home and you're unfamiliar with using BlueJeans in a work from home environment, you might start by running a quick speed test. 1 Mbps up and down, it'll do the job. 4.5 is ideal, it's optimal if you want to use all the features and share your video and computer audio, but 1 is the minimum to do all of the basics. Now, here's some tips if you are at home and like me, and I used to be, I live in the middle of the country, so my internet used to work when it was darn good and ready. If that is you as well and you don't have the best internet, there's definitely some things that you can do to optimize your experience. First, you're going to want to close out of any applications that you're not using so it doesn't try to steal that bandwidth from you when you're not looking. That might mean if you're working from home and you have kids or others in the house, that might mean turning off Netflix or any streaming gaming or anything that's else going on in the house that might be stealing that bandwidth from you, just until you get out of that meeting. If you're not in the same room as your Wi-Fi router, you might want to move a little bit closer or do a direct connect plug-in with an Ethernet cable so that you can get the best connection possible. A lot of times just plugging in directly will make a huge difference in what you're experiencing. Also, if you need a little extra boost, you can use dial-in audio instead of your computer audio, and you can turn off your webcam. We always encourage webcam, but not at the risk of not being able to see everything else that's going on or miss out on some of those important conversations. Also, you can disconnect from VPN. Now, this means only if it's appropriate for your work environment. In some environments, that might not be appropriate, and that's okay. But if you're not accessing any work proprietary information where that might be relevant, turning off your VPN can do a lot of great things in freeing up your bandwidth, both for you and your experience and for your company as well. Last but not least, if you are on the go and you're on a mobile device, you can tap the low data option that displays on your phone. That's going to stop sending and receiving video so that it will preserve the content being shared and the audio as well until you get into a better service area. Now, the next option here is all about looking and sounding your very best. I'd encourage you to always use a headset. Now, most computers come with a headset and a mic built in, but they're not usually the best quality. So you'll want to use a headset with a boom mic. Usually USB is better than Bluetooth even, although Bluetooth works as well. That's just what I find for the best experience. I told some of these guys who joined a little bit early, fun fact, you can actually blow dry your hair in a BlueJeans meeting and you would only hear me talking. You wouldn't hear me the air dryer. That's because we have Dolby Audio, which does a phenomenal job of filtering out background noise and dogs barking and babies crying and all those unexpected disruptions. Don't encourage blow drying your hair in a meeting, but if you had to, we got you covered. The other things that you can do is, of course, always share your webcam every single time, every single meeting, unless bandwidth is an issue, because in doing so, you silently give permission for others to do so as well. And being able to see the person that you're working with and talking with makes a huge difference in building rapport, seeing their body language, their facial expressions. You can see if they're following along. It really is a night and day meeting experience. Now, when it comes to making eye contact, try and look in your webcam as much as you can. You'll see me, I tend to look all around, but if you're doing that one-on-one conversation and you're really trying to have the impact, you can look into your webcam. From an attire perspective, what do you wear? Don't worry about that. Whatever you would normally wear to work, there's tips out there of wearing solid colors and not who cares? You wear whatever you normally wear to work and you're going to look just fine. We do always tease that there's the remote worker uniform, which is you're looking all kinds of snazzy from the waist up and then sporting some pajama pants and some slippers on the waist down, which I'm not saying is wrong, but studies do show that you work and feel your best when you look your best, right? So put some work pants on, people. Other tips and tricks for you today, make your life easier. There's a ton of apps, BlueJeans apps that we're going to look at today. The desktop app, the calendar app, and the mobile app. None of them are necessary, but they're all super helpful and they will make your life easier. So I encourage you to take a little bit of time to check them out in advance and have them ready for your very first meeting. Last but not least, if you can't download the apps, no problem. Everything we do can be done through the browser with 0 downloads required. I do recommend if you're going the route of the browser that you use Edge as the first one or Firefox and Chrome. We support Internet Explorer, Opera, Safari, a lot of the other ones, but some of those browsers don't have the innate capabilities to support all the features. Like some of them you can't do content sharing, but you can see it, or you can't use computer audio. Edge has 100% feature compatibility, and Firefox and Chrome have almost 100%. I think there's only maybe 2 things, whiteboarding and annotation, that you can't do on those browsers. All right, with that, let's jump into how to schedule a BlueJeans meeting. If you had questions, by the way, on anything that we just talked about, now's a great time to put it into chat so that we can circle back and you don't forget about it. So the good news is when it comes to scheduling, we work where you work, so you have the options. You can schedule from the browser, which we just talked about and we'll look at in just a bit. You can use the Outlook for Windows client or the add-in for Office 365, or you can schedule from the Google Calendar. I'm going to show you each one of these today. They all work very, very similar, and there's even an option where you don't have to schedule at all. Each of you will have a unique personal meeting ID that is just yours, and as long as you are in the meeting, that meeting's always on. It's always at the ready. Think of it like your virtual office. As soon as you walk in that door, your office is open. No scheduling required. It's always there for you. You'll probably schedule just for the convenience of others, but those are really great for like drop-in sessions or those hallway conversations or walking past somebody's desk and saying, hey, do you have a quick second? Can I ask you a question? Jump into a quick meeting instead. Now, it's worth noting that whatever it is that you decide to use for scheduling, you're just going to want to be consistent and use that one for editing. So if you schedule on the browser, edit from the browser. If you schedule from Outlook, edit from Outlook. That just makes sure that all the systems know exactly what you're doing. And if you make changes, make sure that your participants don't unexpectedly get like different invites with different dates and times. Just be consistent. So as I mentioned, the schedulers all work in a similar fashion. So let me show you what that looks like. This first example is Office 365. Now you'd start scheduling like you would any other meeting. You're going to add your title, the date, the time, the reoccurrence. And when you're ready, you're going to click that big BlueJeans meeting button like you see here, which is going to insert all those meeting details for you and for your attendee automatically. Nothing you need to do. The other calendar apps look very similar. The button's just in different places. So for Windows Outlook, your BlueJeans button is on the left. If you're scheduling on the browser, it's a huge blue button right at the top that says Schedule a Meeting. And if you're using the Google Calendar, your button is towards the bottom in the Event Details section. Now let's talk about what's actually included in those invitations. Here's a sample of what that invite might look like. You have your big blue Join Meeting button that you can click to join from your computer or from a mobile. There's also dial-in information if you have to just call in from a phone. It's not ideal. Obviously, being able to see each other makes a huge difference, so I don't encourage it. But if you're out and about or there's a use case that's necessary, we always include that information as well. And there's information on how to join from a room system. That's a BlueJeans room system or any other SIP or H.323 system like Cisco, Polycom, LifeSize, any of the traditional units. Up next, let's talk about how to join. And again, you have options. You can join from the desktop app, a browser, a room system, or the mobile app. For today's session, we're going to focus mostly on the desktop app and the browser, and I'll give you a little bit of teaser about the mobile app as well. So the desktop app is my personal favorite. I use this day in and day out. It's incredibly easy. It's faster. It's just a really simple user experience. And it's available to download at bluejeans.com/downloads. When you open the desktop, you're going to see this one-stop shop view. Everything that you need to join the meeting, control the meeting, and end the meeting all in one place. To get started, you can check your camera and your audio before the meeting is even joined. Just like we did today, by hovering your mouse, you're going to see those two icons to mute and unmute your video and camera, again, before you even join the meeting. And when your camera is unmuted, you're going to see the selfie view, or what we teasingly refer to as the hair check view. So you can just make sure that you are visually ready before you join your session. For those of you with multiple webcams, you can click on the drop-down here on the bottom right to change your camera, your speaker, or your sound, right, or your microphone. Again, all before you even join the meeting so that you make sure that you're ready. On the left are all your meeting options. So this very first one is that unique meeting room that we talked about. This is your meeting. It is always on. So long as you are in that meeting, it is always ready. Click of a button and you can join. Immediately below that is the list of all your upcoming BlueJeans meetings with an easy to find join button that'll turn green at the top of the hour or the start time to make it visually easy to jump in. There's also this tiny drop-down menu that's to the right of that join button. I'd like to call out a specific use case in this one. Let's assume that you've walked into a conference room and somebody beat you to it, and they've already put the audio and the video up on the screen for you. But like me, your eyes may not be as good as they used to be. So we want to open up the content on our laptops as well so we can see a little bit better. That's what this join with screen share only is for. It allows you to join, no audio, no webcam, and it just lets you be able to see and share content while you're listening or using the conference room audio and video. Last but not least, let's say you have to join a meeting on the fly. Somebody can give you the meeting ID. And if you like, they can give you the moderator code so that you can join as a co-moderator. For example, Maggie and I are both moderators today, which means we both have all the great we have full control. We can record, we can mute everybody, all that function and assign it out together. Let's have a look at the browser experience. It's very, very similar. It's just hosted in the browser instead. Now remember, we recommend Edge, Chrome, and Firefox. You can use the other ones, but they do have some limited functionality. The first thing that you'll do when you click a link to join is select your audio preference. Again, this is before you even join the meeting, so you can make sure you're ready to go. You can select use computer audio, which I recommend. It's our most common. It's absolutely free, but it has that Dolby audio. So the really clear, crisp audio that cuts out all that background noise. If you have low bandwidth or you have another use case and you need to, you can join in from the phone and it'll give you all of our dial-in phone numbers. All the toll numbers are free. If your organization has purchased toll-free numbers, you'll see them as well there as well. But if it's the toll, we got you covered. We take care of that. And last but not least is that I'm already on the phone, meaning like that room system scenario. You walked into a conference room. You don't need audio and video. You just want to see content. Next, you're going to set up your camera. So you can do your self-check, make sure you're ready, or turn it off. Maybe you don't want to share your webcam. You can turn it off. Then you're just going to click the meeting to join the button. There is that settings option. I showed you where it was in the desktop app. If you're on the browser version, instead of being at the bottom, it's just at the top right. That's if you want to change your camera or your headset. When it comes to being in the meeting, let me show you all the great things that you can do inside of a session. This is what that meeting experience looks like when you're the first one to join. The button to the left is how you start and stop your recording. It'll only appear if you're the moderator or you joined using the moderator code, because that function's limited to just the moderators themselves. everyone will see the content share. And some of you got to play with this a little bit at the beginning of the webinar before we got started. Anybody can click that at any time. Let's not do it right now because you'll steal it from me. And at the moment, it's the Missy Dunham Show. This is how you share your presentation, your desktop, your browser, whatever it is that you need to share to your audience. Now, there's a couple different ways that you can share. The first one here allows you to share your entire screen, and it does recognize dual monitors. So right now it tells me, do I want to share monitor 1 or monitor 2? This content, your audience sees exactly what you see, as if they were standing right behind you looking over your shoulder. It's really great if you're jumping around from applications. So if you're going to share a PowerPoint and a browser and a PDF and you just want the freedom to jump around. It does take up a little bit more bandwidth, so if you have a bandwidth constraint, you might just stick to sharing application. It also requires that you shut down anything you don't want to pop up unexpectedly, like emails or system notifications, things of that nature. So if you ever share desktop as a best practice, close out anything that you're not going to use so you don't have to worry about what pops up. If you're just sharing a presentation like I'm doing right now, you can share application. What's great about this is it hides everything else. So if an email pops up unexpectedly, I will see it, but you guys will not because the system knows to only show you my PowerPoint. And the last option here is how you share a video clip. This is if you have a file saved to your computer, you can share it on the fly or upload it in advance and share it with your audience. As a best practice, you always want to upload it in advance. While you can do it on the fly, that just leaves a lot of unforeseen variables. What if your bandwidth is slow or your internet goes down or whatever the case may be? As a best practice, you'll just want to upload it early so that it's buffered and it's ready to go. Outside of share, there's also this copy meeting link. I point this out because invariably there will always be somebody who says, hey, I deleted the invite or I can't find it. How can I join your meeting? If you've already started, you just click that little link icon there at the bottom, paste it into chat, throw it in the email, whatever the case may be, and go about your meeting. And last but not least for this view, if you need to leave or end the meeting, you click that big red end button. As the moderator, if I leave today, I'm given the choice. Do I want to close it out for everybody or do I want to leave but leave it open for my audience for 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever? I get to set the time frame there. So you get the power to control that when you leave the session. To the right, we have a couple other tabs, and you're welcome to click along as we go to have a look. The very first one is that People tab. This is how you can see everybody in the meeting. It defaults to that everyone view, but there's this great who's talking. This is super useful. Let's say we have 20 people in the meeting and somebody didn't mute their mic and you hear that keyboard tapping. And you want to see who that culprit is, you can click who's talking, see where that noise is coming from, and then quickly mute them. You can also mute individual participants. You can't unmute them. You can unmute them. You can't unmute their video, but only a moderator could do that. The other options here are next to each person's name, there's a drop down. And if you were to click on that, you'd see additional options depending on how your admin has set up your environment. This typically includes things like request desktop controls so that you can drive their computer. That's used a lot for like IT or troubleshooting. You can drop them from the meeting. Maybe they're being disruptive or they stepped away and it's loud. You can kick them out. You can also see their call details. Now, you probably won't use this a ton, but where I do use it very often is if somebody's having trouble, I can do a quick look and see, oh, they have 3 bars instead of, the 5 traditional green. So I know they've had a little bit of bandwidth trouble. And I might just do simple things like if I'm advancing a slide, I'm going to stall and talk for a second because their slide might take a couple extra seconds to load. So it's just a visual cue so that I know what my audience might be having trouble with. Last but not least, if you have a large audience like we do today, trying to mute and unmute individual people would just be a crazy hot mess. So you can mute and unmute all with the click of a button. The next one over is the chat, which a ton of you has used today. Thank you very much. There's two chat options. There's everyone, which is the default, which lets you all freely chat with each other. We can all see it. Even if you joined late and chats had already started, you can scroll back up and see everything that was shared. And there's direct one-on-one messages. So Maggie might message me direct one-on-one and say, hey, speak louder, we can't hear you, or whatever the case may be. That's available for all of you to do as well. We're not going to go into too much detail about apps today, just for the sake of time, but there's some really cool stuff in there. So the first time you go to do your test meeting, take a moment to get in here and play. There are things like using a virtual whiteboard, which is literally click of a button, instant whiteboard. You and your attendees can all draw on it with your keyboards. There's annotations if you need to mark up a PowerPoint, or maybe you're working on a document together and you need to gather opinions. There's Facebook Live, there's uploading your video in advance, and even the ability to start breakout sessions for group activities. And last but not least, we talked about settings a lot already. This is where you change your camera, your mic, and your speakers. This is where you're also going to see additional moderator controls if it's your meeting. Things like mute people on entry. Those are two different things. Mute all is everybody currently in this meeting, mute them all. Mute on entry is anybody who comes in 5 minutes from now, mute them too. So I typically do both for a large audience. You can disable those entry and exit tones so it doesn't ding every time somebody joins or leaves. By default, we turn it off. Some people like it. They turn it back on. You can turn it off on the fly if need to. It's also how you can lock your meeting. So perhaps we used that virtual office analogy earlier today. If you have somebody join your meeting so you can have a quick conversation, but you want to make sure that you have privacy, you can lock your meeting. Nobody else can join, and then unlock it when you're done. Oops, missed a transition there. Those are your visual indicators. Last but not least for this section is the mobile app. If you've ever used any mobile app on your phone, you're going to need zero training on this. It's very, very self-explanatory, but I wanted to show you what it looked like. The very first time you log into the mobile app on your phone, it's going to ask you to log in, and then it'll ask you what calendar you traditionally use, the Office 365, Windows, etc., because it'll automatically pull in all your BlueJeans meetings so that you can click a button, select the meeting that you want, select your audio preference, and then join. The in-meeting functionality is the same. It's exactly what we've looked at today. But there's one great call out. The last option here shows you that low bandwidth mode that I talked about. So at the top of the display, it kind of hovers standard, low data, and I think the other one's commute. Low data is turn off all the video streaming, both mine and everybody else's, just so I can see content and hear audio. Commute is I'm driving and I just want to be able to hear them, so it's just audio only. And then when you get into a higher bandwidth area, you can click standard and it'll turn everything back on. Let's talk about post-meeting and how to access the recording. Again, if you have questions on anything that we just talked about, throw it in chat before you forget, and we're going to circle back in just a minute so we can dive into those with you together. Now, if you recorded your meeting, it's typically available within a few minutes after you end your session. You're going to get an email that gives you the link, but I'm going to show you how you can log in to access it and how you can make some simple changes to make it downloadable or to grab the link to share, things of that nature. So to access the recording, you'd log into bluejeans.com/scheduling. And you're going to click on the recording tab like you see here. If you have multiple recordings, you're going to see title images for each one, and the most recent is always going to be on the top left. If you were to click on a specific recording, that's going to dive you in so that you have some more details on what you can edit, change, and share. We can do things like indicate who can have access to this recording. By default, it's set to just you, but you can change that to everybody in your enterprise, which means if they have a BlueJeans account on the same account that you do, then they can view that link. The other option is open access, which means anybody inside, outside my company, anybody I give this link to, they can see my recording. You can also click a button to copy that link so that you can share it. Make it available for download, which downloads as an MP4 format. And as the moderator, the owner of that recording, you can delete your recordings as well. You might notice in this example, I actually have 6 chapters for this recording. Chapters are done every time you start and stop recording inside of the same meeting. So if you have a longer session, think of a classroom environment where the first hour we're talking about math, start and stop recording. Then we're talking about chemistry, start and stop recording. Or maybe you're doing a business webinar on different topics. The chapters are just valuable because then you have standalone recordings for each one of those chapters. You can also download and delete just the individual chapters as well. Let's jump into additional resources, and then we're going to have a look at that Q&A. Before you leave today, I want to make sure you know where to go to get help, what all your options are, and some of the other webinars that we have coming up for you guys. So first, if you have questions, this is a great site to bookmark, support.bluejeans.com. You're going to see a ton of great things in here. First, you can type in any question. How do I schedule? How do I do breakout sessions? Whatever the case may be, and peruse a number of articles on all those related topics so the answer's at your fingertips. You can also click on this new section that we added for specific tips on working remotely. That includes the best practices that we talked about earlier and some recordings, some different articles, things that we thought might be helpful if you're working from home for the first time. You can also check out additional training. We have a ton of training depending on what you're looking for. We have recorded sessions similar to what we're doing today. We have quick micro training, which is only like 2 to 3 minutes on topics. So if you just want a reminder on how to share content or join from your mobile, or what does it look like when you join from a browser, you can spend just a little bit of time on the things that you really care about. And last but not least, if you need us, BlueJeans support is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we are happy to help. If you were to click on Contact Us, you'll notice you have 3 options. You have a web ticket that you can submit online. That's for things that are not urgent, like I would like to do a breakout session, but when I tested it, it didn't work. Can you let me know what I did wrong? Whatever the case may be. The typical response for an online case is about 24 hours. So again, non-urgent, but then you get to go about your day and you don't have to wait for somebody on the phone. Chat is a little bit more immediate and simple issues like, hey, can you tell me how to do this real quick? And our support team will chat right back at you, and then you can jump on or jump off and carry on. Or if it's something urgent or critical, you can absolutely call a BlueJeans support engineer, and we're happy to help you. Last few things. Your call to action today is to host your very first BlueJeans meeting with you and just one other person. It is incredibly easy, and I hope by being in meetings today, you all got to see that, you got to click around, ease some of that nerves because it's so simple. But it's important to solidify what you've learned. So start a quick meeting. Schedule it, join it, click record, mute and unmute everybody, share the different type of content so you can play with it and see what it looks like, and play with some of the things we didn't have time for today, like whiteboarding and annotations. We also have a couple other webinars that you might be interested in. So we did one last Thursday, if memory serves me, which was a best practices section if you're working from home for the first time. So that is available on that support page, the training page we looked at, and the URLs right here if you'd like to grab it. We'll make sure that's included when we send you the recording as well. And we have another training for all our admins out there this Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific time that is focused on best practices if you're rapidly deploying BlueJeans unexpectedly in your environment, and how to help your users get up and running very quickly. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to the wonderful Miss Maggie. Maggie's going to lead us through our Q&A, opening them up, and then I'm happy to answer them for you guys. Maggie?
Hi. Thanks, Missy. That was wonderful. I feel like everyone learned some great information. I know I did, even though I've been using BlueJeans for over a year now. So we did have a few questions about the calendar integration. So one, people want to know how can they get the calendar integration into their Microsoft Outlook and other platforms? And
Sure.
then two, how do you create a reoccurring meeting with large groups with a BlueJeans invite?
Good question. So all of our downloads are at bluejeans.com/downloads. And remember, the three that we recommend are the calendar of your choice. So you're going to see Windows Outlook, you're going to see Office 365, and you're going to see the Google Calendar, as well as the desktop app and the mobile app. So if you're there, you might as well grab them all. When it comes to how do you do it, it's a quick install like you do with any other application, so that process will be very familiar. And then you'll just close out of Outlook if you had it open, or Google or whatever you're using, and reopen it to see that BlueJeans button. When it comes to adding reoccurrences, you just follow the normal process you would for your calendar app. It really doesn't have anything to do with BlueJeans. It's just reoccurring your calendar itself. So Outlook has its own reoccurring. Google has a different one. Whatever you would normally do to schedule a reoccurrence, it's going to tell BlueJeans what to do. Good question.
Awesome. Yeah, and then is it possible to customize those calendar invites?
It is not possible today. I'm almost willing to bet my paycheck on it. I do know that it is something that is coming, but I don't think it's been released just yet. What you can do if you want to make your own, maybe you just want the join link and you don't want all that other junk, right? You're just going to delete it, is you can just copy and paste it and throw it into an invite. I do that a lot with my own unique, so I don't schedule my personal meetings. That's your unique URL. So I always have that as a signature in my email. So if I need to drop it, I can just click insert signature and there's my meeting information. So there's a couple cheats for it, but the feature request to make it so you can enable it is coming soon.
Awesome. And then we did have a few questions about breakout rooms. So is it easy to create breakout rooms if you're already in a call? And then what are the best practices for running breakout groups?
It is easy. I don't want to take us too much off topic, but I will. Let me stop my sharing. And I'm going to share with you just so you guys can see what that looks like. Let me get out of my PowerPoint here real fast. And there we go. I'm going to share my screen with you. Forgive me if anything pops up unexpectedly. And you're now seeing my version of the BlueJeans app. So if I click on the Apps tab, there we go, and I click Start Breakout Session, this is going to go, it's going to think, it would leave it to the demo gods that it wouldn't work. There we go. I could click Add a Room, and then it's going to ask me to either randomly assign or drag and drop people into all the different rooms. And I can do multiple rooms, and then just assign you guys to each of these sessions and click Start. So it is super, super easy. The only best practice I have there, because again, it is really easy to use, and you can jump around as the moderator which one you're in, is to make sure you try it once on your own. It's not difficult, but if it's a different user experience, if you've never done it, just do it yourself. Maybe have one computer here and then another one off to the side so you can see, oh, that's what that looks like. And it'll just give you confidence and comfort. So if somebody asks a question, you can say, oh yeah, absolutely, click this button. But very, very easy to use.
Awesome. And then speaking of apps, someone asked for the whiteboard, can you cover how to save a completed whiteboard?
You know what? Let's see. Real time, can you save a whiteboard? Let me share my screen again. Here's what that whiteboard looks like. Can you guys see that? Because I'm sharing my view.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if there is a save feature. Let's do a quick draw. I'm going to say happy face here. And then let's see, do I have some share or save options up here? Shoot, I don't know that we do. I can change the color, text tool. I can draw, erase, junk it, and end it or undo. I don't know that you can share today. Sorry about that. We'll put that on the feature requests.
Here's another question. Can a client who does not have a BlueJeans account be a moderator?
Can a client who doesn't have a BlueJeans account be a moderator? No. So in order to be a moderator, if I wanted to be Maggie's moderator, by the way, she would give me the link and give me the moderator code to use when I join, but it's gonna look for my profile first. So I have to have a login as well. More simply stated, in order to be a moderator, you both have to have logins in the same BlueJeans enterprise.
Awesome. And then does BlueJeans support sharing documents in the meeting other than videos?
So if I understand the question correctly, it is, can I share like a PDF, for example, or a Word doc? If you can open it on your computer, you can share it. As a best practice, and here, let me share my screen one more time. I'm going to share my full desktop so you see what I see. So this is my view. The system is going to look for anything that you have open. So for example, I have Chrome open and I have BlueJeans because yay, I was smart and I closed everything else today. If I had a PDF open, a Word doc, whatever it is that you want to share, even your own unique systems or software, as long as you have it open, you can click on it and say share because it's actually sharing the application itself.
Awesome. And then this will probably be our last question, and the rest of them we'll email out with the recording. But what is a meeting highlight?
That's a beautiful question. It's actually my favorite feature because it's the newest, coolest, the latest and greatest. I didn't talk about it today because most of you probably won't see this feature for about a month or so. It's getting ready to go general availability to the public in April. But let me show you what this coolness looks like. I'm going to share my screen again. So some of you probably noticed through the meeting that you have this star icon. Now, again, right now I'm sharing my screen. So if you're trying to click it, you're probably trying to click my star icon. What this is it adds a highlight. And highlights, think of it as social collaboration. For example, I guarantee you somebody used it throughout today. Yeah, y'all clicked it. So what this is perhaps I want to keep track of when I switch topics. Or Maggie wants to point out, oh, Missy said something really important. She clicks that highlight button. What that does is it creates a spot in the recording where you can go over here and edit and say, this is Missy talking about smart meetings, or this is Missy switching topics and now we're talking about pricing or marketing or whatever the case may be. Then I can go in and I can add a label. And when I mean me, I can mean if I added the highlight, Maggie added the highlight, Alyssa added the highlight, we can all do this because it is social collaboration. You can change it to an action item. So if I were to be like, hey, Maggie, after this meeting, can you make sure that we include the Q&A transcript? I can click highlight, assign it as an action item to Maggie. And then when we go view the recording, a couple of things happen. First, we can binge watch the recording, which is amazing. Ideally, in any meetings, yes, you're going to watch anything that you missed start to finish, but in reality, we all don't always have that time. When you click highlight, it takes a 10-second reel before the highlight was clicked, 10 seconds after, and it puts it on the bin watch reel so that you can go in and watch the recording, and it's just going to watch all those highlights for you. It's also going to show every single thing that was highlighted, all your comments with it. You can mention somebody to assign them tasks. So it really opens up that meeting experience to be a little bit more all-encompassing, especially to follow up on action items and for those who missed it. Great question.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Missy. Those are all the time we have for questions. If you have any more questions, please feel to reach out to us, and we'll send this out in probably a couple hours. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Missy.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
You bet. Bye.